From the opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal, this is Potomac Watch.
Police arrest Luigi Mangione for allegedly assassinating the CEO of the UnitedHealthcare insurance company in New York City, with reports that he had a spiral notebook denouncing corporate greed. Welcome, I'm Kyle Peterson with the Wall Street Journal. We are joined today by my colleagues, editorial board member Monet Ukwe-Barua and columnist Bill McGurn. 5 days after the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, Brian Thompson, was gunned down in Midtown Manhattan on his way to an investor meeting, police captured 26-year-old Luigi Mangione at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania after he was apparently recognized from police photos. News reports say that Mangione was carrying a 3D printed gun and a fake driver's license. The latest on Wednesday is reports from police sources, this is from CNN, that fingerprints found at the scene of the assassination match those of suspect Luigi Mangione. Also, information filtering out from a notebook that Mangione apparently had. Here's a piece of what he wrote, according to the New York Times. What do? You whack the CEO at the annual parasitic bean counter convention. It's targeted, precise, and doesn't risk innocence. He also reportedly considered planting a bomb in New York instead. This is from a New York Police Department intelligence report obtained by CNN. He appeared to view the targeted killing of the company's highest-ranking representative as a symbolic takedown and a direct challenge to its alleged corruption and power games, asserting in his note that he is the first to face it with such brutal honesty, unquote. Monet, what do we know now about Mangione and his background and what might have led him to this?
Well, it's coming out in drips and drabs as the days go on, but the most striking thing up front is that he didn't seem to go to great pains to conceal his own thoughts about this. In fact, the fact that he was recording his thinking about his approach to the crime, some of his thinking about the healthcare industry, and had all of those writings on his possession at the time of his arrest shows that it's very possible that he might have anticipated being caught and wanting his rationale to enter into the public consciousness. Of course, when he was being moved into the courthouse, he also made a remark to the public and to the cameras about how something or other was an indignity and a disrespect to the American people. And so even though we're still piecing together the story now, as we hear from him and as more of this evidence is released, it probably won't be long before we have a much fuller picture of who he was. But what we know right now is that, of course, he was a 26-year-old man who had showed a great amount of promise in his upbringing. He was apparently a very good student and was respected by his peers, who happened to kind of go further off the grid as time went on, was spending time in kind of community homes in Hawaii and doing a variety of different tech jobs, but wasn't as much in touch with his family as he previously had been. He posted quite a lot about his own medical condition. He suffered some kind of back injury, and a surgery in the aftermath of that seemed to not go very well. I think it's fair to speculate that that was at least connected to his building hatred for the American healthcare industry. And he decided after a certain amount of time that this would be his retribution, that he would pick an executive in healthcare and decide to kill him. He thought at least a little bit about how he was going to be able to make a splash with that attack and hopefully set off some kind of movement. But as the case proceeds, he'll have the opportunity, of course, to speak more about what motivated him, and we'll be discovering what exactly might have triggered him to go down this very dark and unexpected path.
Bill, a couple things that strike me. Apparently, he's from a fairly prominent Maryland family, attended a prep school where tuition runs close to $40,000 a year, according to some of the news reports, and then went on to the University of Pennsylvania, earned a bachelor's degree and a master's degree from that Ivy League school. So not someone who lacked opportunities in life, it seemed, not somebody from the margins of society. And then two, still questions about his mental health. This is around the age when sometimes people have mental breaks. Some reporting that he went dark. His family hadn't heard from him in months. Apparently in the middle of November, his mom called the authorities in San Francisco where she thought that he was living and reported him, filed a missing persons Thompson's report for him. And so I assume there is more to learn there, but some suggestion that he had gone dark, as it were, even from his close friends and family.
Yeah, I mean, it's a familiar story. A lot of radicals come from elite and privileged families. And if you look at the college campuses today, what they're marinating in is not surprising. Seldom, in fact, do we have self-proclaimed radicals coming from the real poor and marginalized part of the society. They're usually wealthy and sometimes highly educated. Look, he was caught with the manifesto. It's striking that one of the downfalls of all these radical groups, there's always some idiot who keeps a journal, because they want credit for what they're doing. He sees himself, in his sick view, as someone striking a blow for fairness and justice and against the system. The sad thing is so many people seem to agree with him and don't have trouble with gunning down a businessman in Midtown Manhattan. But we're going to learn a lot more. He's clearly a disturbed man. His family, what I've read so far, seems to have recognized that. And it's a common story, unfortunately.
Hang tight. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The same day that Mangione was captured was the day of the funeral in Minnesota for Brian Thompson, 50-year-old from modest roots in Iowa. 2 sons rose to be the chief executive of this large company, pretty good American success story. And to the point that Bill was making about people on the left who are saying that this just shows how angry folks are about the healthcare system in the United States. Let's listen to a clip of Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren last night on MSNBC.
We'll say it over and over. Violence is never the answer. This guy gets a trial who's allegedly killed the CEO of UnitedHealth. But you can only push people so far. And then they start to take matters into their own hands.
Yeah.
We need regulation in part to rein those guys in.
And here this morning on MSNBC is NYPD Deputy Commissioner of Operations, Kaz Daughtry.
This guy's not a hero. He's not a hero. If you have any issues with somebody, we don't go out there and commit violence. We don't go out there and commit. This guy committed cold-blooded murder on our streets, and that's not something that we tolerate. And I don't think that he's a hero for that.
Monet, what do you make of this? It seems to me a bad state if the NYPD Deputy Commissioner has to go on MSNBC and remind people that this alleged suspect who shot someone in cold blood, a father of 2 on the streets of Midtown Manhattan, in his words, is no hero.
Yeah, and I would add to that the fact that Tom Dickey, who's the lawyer for Luigi Mangione, says that his office has been getting request after request for people who are looking to cover Mangione's legal expenses. And so this is not just a social media outpouring of a lot of people who are anonymous saying, we think that he did something valiant. This is really a political movement out there of a lot of people who think that violence against healthcare CEOs is justified and are willing to put skin in the game behind that proposition. And I think that there probably are a lot of progressive politicians who share Elizabeth Warren's view, who might be a little bit more measured about expressing it in public, but who do think that healthcare is not just a tangled mess of bureaucracy and regulation, which a CEO like Brian Thompson would be the first person to tell you, but think that the healthcare industry as it exists today is so corrupt and is so malicious in the way that it treats patients that violence against people taking part in that system is justified. And it completely flies in the face of regular, ordinary morality in this country, where we believe that we have a political system. And when there are problems and disagreements about how healthcare ought to be structured, we can have all of those disagreements heard in a public forum and then decide how we want to proceed. Elizabeth Warren, being in public office, is supposed to be part of that process. But instead, you have some people saying that the problems are so grave that an individual choosing to go outside of the system and take matters into his own hands and kill an innocent person is completely justified. And I think you have to have more people, particularly more Democrats, coming out and saying, we completely disagree with this. We condemn the killing, and we never think it's justified to kill an innocent person because you believe that there are problems or corruption in the system.
Bill, what's your take on this? I think Elizabeth Warren ought to apologize for saying that. If you are starting a sentence and the beginning of the sentence is violence is never justified, and then you get to a but, anything after the but, you've gone too far.
Yeah, exactly. You hit the nail on the head with that. The grammar reveals all. Look, Elizabeth Warren wouldn't say that about the January 6 people whom she called insurrectionists. But here she's saying maybe the healthcare industry was asking for it, that they pushed him too far and he reacted. I mean, it's incredible, the double standard. Look, it's the same debate with terrorism. Terrorism was always justified under certain causes, whether it's freedom for the Palestinians, oppression by U.S.-backed regimes. It's always about the cause. And we've learned in terrorism, the cause doesn't matter. The actions matter. And this guy on camera gunned down an innocent businessman in New York. And it's really disappointing how many people are okay with that because the cause seems to justify it. No, it's the actions that are determinative. And if he's found guilty, he should pay the highest penalty for this. And we want to prevent more from happening. And that's not going to happen when his crazy rantings about being a warrior for justice are kind of endorsed by so many people.